and also your race efforts as well. Now, would I race in the Sonicblast? Shoe comparison I've got for you guys today. So we are going to put the brand new ASICS Sonicblast up against the Magic Speed 4. So I'll go through their similarities, differences, and key features, and hopefully from that, that'll give you guys a good indication of choosing the right shoe for you. But before we get into it, and if you guys haven't done so already and you want to support the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And in the specs, they're both neutral road running shoes, and if you read the ASICS website, they're pretty much targeted at the same types of runs. Both descriptions of both shoes pretty much say they're good, pretty much good to go for the faster stuff, and also ideal for a variety of race distances. Now, checking out the price, there a fair bit of a price difference here in Australia, $40. Now, is that price difference going to be warranted in the performance? Well, you decide at the end of the review. Only a $10 difference there in the US. Now, in the weight, what's surprising to me is they're actually a little bit closer than what I thought they were, because I think the Magic Speed 4 feels a little bit more balanced. It doesn't feel as bottom heavy as the Sonicblast. And in the stacks, pretty evenly matched stacks there, but you're going to get the taller stack here in the Sonicblast. And in the uppers, when inspecting both shoes, you can tell just by a quick glance that there are a lot of similarities. They're pretty much the same. So the engineered mesh in both shoes is very similar, it's slightly different. Breathability is pretty good in both shoes. They've got the same type of heel counter, same rigidity, about the same amount of padding. However, you get more of a pointed heel counter in the Sonicblast over the Magic Speed. They've got the same lacing system. They use the exact same laces. Their tongues are very similar, both gusseted tongues, super thin, lightly padded. Lockdowns are pretty good in both shoes as well, so pretty good for the midfoot. No real heel slippage in the back of either shoe, but where they are different is in the fit, in pretty much just in the length. So the Sonicblast is a slightly longer fit than the Magic Speed 4, because both these two shoes are in my size, a US 8.5, and this one, yeah, just slightly longer. And in the outsoles, well, there is two different designs going on here, but they are both using ASICS grip. Now, ASICS grip performs amazing. So in all conditions, super grippy in the wet, really tacky in the dry, and durability in both shoes is quite good. So really the only difference is where they've placed the rubber on the bottom. They've got more of this segmented design, sticking with the Blast family of shoes here on the bottom. And in the Magic Speed, it's pretty much sticking to the theme of the Meta Speed series, so the race shoes. But all in all, they're going to perform pretty much exactly the same in the outsole. It's probably going to be a little bit more louder and a little bit more tappy in the Magic Speed, just because it's just got more rubber coverage. And in the midsole, so this is where the real differences are in the shoes. So with the Sonicblast, a dual density setup, meaning just two types of foams in the midsole. So the top layer is their brand new foam, so FF Turbo Squared, that features in the Mega Blast. However, I will tell you, it's certainly tuned differently than what you're going to find in the Mega Blast. It's certainly a little bit more firm. It feels like it's just been pumped up a little bit too much. And our bottom layer of foam is the FF Blast Max that features in the Nova Blast. Now, sandwiched between that, they've got a P-Bax plate that they're calling the Astro plate, and that's giving this shoe some rigidity and holding the structure of those foams, and also holding the shape of the geometry as well. Rigidity wise though, it's still a pretty stiff shoe, but while it maintains a little bit of flexibility. So certainly more flex than what you're going to get in a carbon plated shoe. Now, in comparison to the Magic Speed, so again, this is pretty much a dual density setup, but it's not so straightforward as what you're going to get in the Sonicblast. So what we've got here, you will see a big sticker on the side of this shoe, FF Turbo. However, the FF Turbo in this shoe doesn't make up the majority of foam in the shoe. The majority of the foam is just FF Blast. It features in most of the daily training models. So 2 layers of that FF Blast, and then they've just got a cutout in the forefoot here, and it's like a little puck, and that's just this little puck of FF Turbo. So that's where the super foam is in the shoe. Now, sandwiched between those two, they say they've got an internal carbon plate here, or a full-length plate. However, it's certainly not a traditional carbon plate. It feels very plasticky to the touch, kind of like the Astro plate in the Sonicblast. So I believe it might be just a carbon resin plate or anything like that, but it's certainly not a proper carbon plate. And rigidity wise, I'm going to say it's about the same stiffness as, I know the Sonicblast is slightly more flexible, but yeah, there's really not much in it. But both shoes are pretty rigid. Now in the geometry department, again, we've got a pretty late aggressive 4-foot rocker. So it's a very similar geometry setup in the Sonicblast and in the Magic Speed. And in the rides, well, although they're both targeted at the same types of runs, they do perform quite differently, but not so much at that jogging pace. So at the jogging pace, I know they're not designed for that, but a lot of people will jog around in these shoes. They do feel quite stiff. They're rigid, and for me, they are a little bit clunky. The geometry in both shoes is not really set up for that jogging pace because they're just a little bit too far forward. Now, when you start using these shoes for their intended purpose, so you're picking up the pace in the shoes, they both feel better at a different type of effort. So where the Sonicblast shines for me is at about that steady pace range up till about that tempo pace. So they are like longer efforts. They're not all out efforts, but they're still quicker than your easy pace. And they're the types of paces where you just lock into a pace for an extended amount of time. So I think the feeling of this shoe being bottom heavy really helps with the rhythm. And you can just tick the legs over, lock into a pace, and away you go. The shoe feels quite efficient because there's not a lot of sink. There's not a lot of bounce in the shoe either, but you're not wasting energy. The geometry really, really just accommodates that tempo pace for me where you can just set and forget. Whereas the Magic Speed 4, now this, because it's only got that little bit of super foam in the forefoot here, this shoe has got a really small sweet spot. So at that tempo pace, you're not really putting much force into that sweet spot in the front of the shoe. However, when you pick up the pace just a little bit, you start doing some quicker efforts, so like some threshold efforts or some intervals. This is where the Magic Speed comes alive because you're just powering through this forefoot, using the geometry, and away you go. So this thing really lights up the faster you go for me. So 10K, 5K pace, this is its happy place for me. Whereas remember this one, slightly slower at that steady tempo effort. This one is sort of like a set and forget. Now, also what is slightly different in both shoes is the stability. So you're going to get a little bit more of a stable ride in the Sonicblast, and that's just because the platform at the bottom is slightly wider. So I think it's about 5 mil wider in the rear and also in the forefoot as well. And just wrapping up the comparison between these two shoes, so as you can see, they do share lots of design concepts, so very similar looking shoes, same upper, same sort of geometry, but a different midsole setup, but they target at the same types of runs. But for me, they're performing differently. So remember, the Sonicblast is that slightly less of an effort, that steady, that tempo range, where you can just lock into your pace and do your extended efforts. It feels quite nice, where the Magic Speed, certainly a little bit more performance orientated, so those faster paces, so your threshold efforts, your 5 and your 10K efforts, and also your race efforts as well. Now, would I race in the Sonicblast? Probably not. For me, it feels just a little bit too heavy, but I wouldn't hesitate using the Magic Speed for a race either. Anyway, guys, that's it from me. Any questions you've got regarding these two shoes, just hit me up in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.